Let's talk about tapping. We've already pre-drilled 2 holes and tap drilled them to accommodate a 5/16 18 tap. Tapping is going to be a rather lengthy process because we have to do it by hand. We can do it with the machines, but we're going to end up breaking more taps and causing more damage than it's worth. So let's take a second and look at the tapping tools that we're going to need, and then we'll go through the entire process here. So you are going to need 3 things. Right? You're going to need a tap wrench, you're going to need the tap itself, okay, and you're going to need what's called a tap guide. Now the way this is going to work, the tap is going to fit into the tap wrench. Notice the wrench has got a square opening. That square opening will fit the square end of your tap. So we're going to open the tap wrench up, put the squared end of the tap in here, and tighten that back up. Now this will allow us to apply enough torque to the tap to cut into our workpiece. Now the tap guide is going to keep the tap and the tap wrench aligned in a straight line as it feeds it down through the workpiece. So the tap wrench, or the tap guide is spring loaded, and that will fit into the hole in the end of the tap wrench and keep this all in one straight line as we're cutting, because we don't want to feed the tap at any kind of angle. We want to keep everything nice and straight. Now before we tap, we need to go ahead and countersink slightly to provide a place for the tip of the the tap to go. So let's head over here real quick. We're going to use the same digital readout numbers the coordinates that we use for these 2 holes. We're going to go into low gear real quick. Reverse at about 200, 180 RPM. And all we want to do is provide a little bit of relief at the surface of this hole. So I'm going to come down and just touch that. Just to provide a teeny little bit of a countersink that will help funnel that tap in. I'm going to go ahead and real quick do the other hole, and then we'll come back to you with our tap setup. Okay, we've countersunk slightly our 2 holes that need to be tapped. I've loaded the tap guide into the drill chuck, and I've got my tap in my tap wrench. We've lowered the table way down because we need to go ahead and get the indentation on our tap wrench lined up with our tap guide. So I'm going to bring this up and set this all in to the hole that we're going to tap. So now you can see that the tap guide keeps the tap wrench and the tap in perfect alignment with the axis of the hole that we're trying to tap. Now to tap, again, slow process. We're going to want to keep pressure between the tap guide and the tap wrench, so you're going to periodically need to lower the quill and lock the quill as you work your way through. Now this is held nice and rigid. You're going to have to adjust this as you go through the entire process. Anytime we tap, you are going to use lubricant, all up and down the tap and in the hole. This lubricant will prevent the tap from breaking and provide a nice clean cut, removing the chips as you go. So the process for tapping is to turn the tap about 1 full turn, and then we're going to back it off. Now to start, I need to do a little bit more than 1 turn to get the tap set. So I'm going to turn this tap wrench a few turns until I start cutting. Now that I'm cutting, I'm going to stop and I'm going to back up until I break the chips that are being formed. So you'll feel it or hear it. There it went. You can't run a tap all the way through in one shot. You need to go in a little bit, back up a little bit. Go in a little bit, back up a little bit. Make sure you hold on to the tap wrench to keep it from moving too much. And then when you start to see that the tap guide is getting a little far out, lower the quill a little bit to keep that all tight. So we'll go in, back out. Go in, back out. Okay, and you'll be able to hear the chips breaking off as you're tapping here. So in a little bit, out till it breaks the chips. Okay, when you get all the way through, okay, you'll notice you won't have any more resistance from chips being cut, and that tap will just spin right around. Once you're all the way through, bring the tap guide up and carefully unthread your tap wrench, okay, making sure to keep everything in a line still. Now, we're going to check this here with a screw in a second, okay, but you need to make sure that you clear out any debris that's inside this tapped hole. So carefully bring this out here. We will brush and check with one of our 5/16 screws here, and that should thread nicely through there. It might be a little sticky at first because there's still debris in there, okay, but that should thread in and out, no problem. Okay, so all you're going to do now is go over to the next hole location according to the plans, okay, and with the same setup, tap the second hole.